I heard a really interesting woman on CBC the other day, and she was saying that she tries to start every single thing in her day with the word love. I got goosebumps just now, look. And I thought, wow, could I do that?
Welcome back to the Jody and Court podcast, episode 17. I believe this is officially.
I'm glad you had that, because I was not even thinking about what number episode this was.
I might be wrong.
It's a good thing you're on the ball.
So I believe it was our last episode that we had Kirk as our guest.
It was.
And today we're having Kirk back, and we're reversing the roles. And Kirk is going to be interviewing us. And we have no idea what's coming our way at all.
This is a big step, because we kind of like to be in control. So handing over the control to somebody else. Kirk, you've earned our trust.
I feel like there should be like an official baton pass or something.
Oh, baton.
Yes.
Baton.
Yeah.
Very good. I like it.
My heart is pounding.
I'm kind of excited.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about this as I take my walks, and I know what a tremendous and powerful influence my mother has been on my life, on my heart, on my brain, on my value system. And I've sort of observed you as moms, how you are with your children, and of course also how you are with your husbands. But as I walk, and I think you have a great deal of intent in your motherhood. I see it in lots of ways. I see that you're conscious of things, that you've made decisions, real decisions, small and big, and that you then probably will have expectations of your daughters at some point. I mean, they're human beings, they're going to turn out how they turn. So I was thinking, I only have a few, hopefully potent questions for you, maybe 5 or 6 questions. My first question is, you're young women and you've just finished writing your first book. It's going to be published next week, but you haven't put a title on it. So could you please, just as a young woman, mother, everything, blah, 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 tell us the title of your book up to this point.
Okay, so the first 2 words that popped into my brain was love wildly.
Love wildly.
Yes.
Okay, do you have a subtitle?
No, that would be my title.
Okay, and what about yours?
Either I am a woman or you are a woman.
Okay.
And
subtitle? You can have a subtitle if you want.
Something along the lines of be free to grow into who you're meant to be. Something like that. Yeah.
Good. Now you're 95 years old. You are not in good health. You only have maybe days left on the planet. And you've written your other book. Okay? And you've dedicated it to your daughter and to your daughters. So now, Courtney, what is the title of your book at 95?
Have courage and be kind.
Okay, and what would your title be? Remember, and I'm going to start asking you questions about your daughters soon. So it can be anything. It could be, I'm allergic to horses.
I am.
I know.
Take your allergy medicine.
I think it would be You Are All You Need.
Aha, great. So my first question is, what do you want each of your daughters to remember about you? Like when they're talking and they're 38 years old and they're with their girlfriends and their friends and they're having a weenie roast and they say, oh, my mom was da-da-da.
The first thing that popped into my head was that I didn't wait for somebody else to create what I wanted. I created what I wanted my life to be.
You.
I did.
Yes.
I didn't wait for somebody else. I didn't wait for it to just happen through some other means. I just took control and I created the life that I wanted to live.
And so you're imparting that to them?
I sure hope so.
Oh, good. Yeah, in X or Y way. So that's the first thing that pops into your head. So, Court, what do you want Little Red Michaela to remember about you? And she says, "Oh, my mom, blah blah blah." Was this?
I would love for her to say a memory that when I was a little girl, my mom used to come into my bedroom every night, and she would hold my hand and tickle my palm, and she would stare at me, and she would tell me to meet me under the tree in our dreams. And whoever that makes me appear to her as a person, I would hope that she would remember me as in that moment, I guess. Even though actually she's probably asleep every time I do that.
Well, it's one of the questions that I have for actually Courtney later. I want to ask you about the words specifically.
Yeah.
So, in a slightly different way, what would you like your girls to say, either generally or specifically, that my mom taught me that? My mom taught me, look both ways before you cross the street. Because, of course, you have to teach them over and over, you must brush your teeth before you go to bed. I have things like, I have things from my mother. I'll be in a meeting or in a rehearsal and I'm about to blow my cork or something, and I hear my mother going, "Discretion is the better part of valor." And it makes me think. And I hear my mother. Or like when you came into the room today, I stood up. I must stand up when a lady enters the room. I have to walk on the outside of the street. If I have a girlfriend or a wife, I have to hold her hand. But my mother taught me that. Like, Kirk, when you're a man, hold your wife's hand. It shows that you're thoughtful. It shows that you're affectionate, that you're thinking about her, that you're two, So I have things that ring in my head. Specific things, like stand up when Courtney enters the room, because if I don't, I hear my mother in my ear. And that's a good thing. She's not teaching me, "Oh, go sell drugs, Kirk." She's teaching me good things. So are there specific things that you'd like your daughters, whether they're silly things or small things or detailed things or pragmatic things or spiritual things, that you would like your daughters to remember that you taught them? My mom taught me that. I'll start with you, Jody.
I want my girls to be able to say that my mom taught me that they can do hard things. This is what happens. I am super emotional.
That's good. Beautiful. Great. When you interviewed me about my mom, I got all emotional, and I was like, I wasn't my tough Canadian coal miner dude.
Yeah.
And you're a Vaston hoot.
I'm a Vaston hoot. Yeah, I'm a Vaston hoot. I want my girls to know that they can do hard things, and I want them to know that I don't know why this gets me so emotional.
You're going to get like Clarence. He's so sensitive.
I am super, super sensitive.
But that's great. You have two little girls right there. They're playing cowboys right now. So,
Probably. I want them to know that they can do it on their own.
Okay. So it reflects into your first answer about you were not waiting in your book title.
Yeah, that they don't have to wait for someone to give them permission. They don't have to wait for someone to do it with them. They don't have to wait to graduate high school. They don't have to wait to go to university. They don't have to wait to be married. They can just live their life and create what they want to create for themselves.
So where do you think you got that from? Because it's important to you. You've said it twice now. Did you get it from your mom? Did you get it from, or maybe you saw that other people waited and you don't want them to have that regret?
I think it's because I saw my mom's regret.
Aha! There you go. Yeah. So if you're hitting Ryan all the time, then they go, oh, I don't want to be like my mom. That happened with my dad, and my dad, I don't want to be drinking and being violent and stuff like that. And so I told myself, for me to hit a woman, that's actually impossible. And I think part of it is what I saw in my house as something I didn't want. I don't care what it would take. A woman could take an axe to me, and there's no way I could ever hit a woman. Good. Okay, so what are there some things that you want Michaela to say, my mom taught me to always take a bath on Sunday night, or always comb my hair 100 times, or say my prayers before lunch. Are there things that you want her to actually remember?
Yeah. The first thing that popped into my mind was to always choose kindness. Michaela's a very strong person and very, very smart. And I hope that I can teach her to lead her life with her heart instead of only her mind, because her mind will take her very far, and I think it could deceive her as well in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And to choose, this actually, where that comes from is, I don't remember the circumstance. It was just her and I. We were having some sort of mind battle fight because we're both kind of like strong in our minds. and she said something kind of hurtful to me, and I gratefully had a moment of like presence instead of just reacting. And I got down to her level and I just said, honey, please always choose kindness. And that really resonated with me as something that I hope that she would live her life with kindness as the first thing. Kindness towards others, kindness towards herself, kindness towards animals, kindness towards the earth. And then the other thing is to rely on her own tools, but also support from others during hard times. And I think that comes from myself being guarded a little bit when it comes to, like, I am pretty openly vulnerable, but at the same time I do keep certain things kind of like only to myself. But that feels heavy to carry those things on my own, and I'm learning in my own life right now that there's a lightness when you can just express who you are without having to try to guard yourself, whether that be with a close friend or doesn't matter, like just to find that space, if it's through sport, or if it's through conversation, if it's through therapy, if it's through meditation or retreats or traveling, whatever that is, but to find a network of people outside of yourself so that you don't always have to carry the burden of the world on your shoulders. Not that, you can carry a lot on your own. I really resonate with being able to be independent and stuff like that. But also to have an openness to accepting the gifts that other people have to offer. Yeah.
So I said that I wanted to ask you about what I observed in you in small ways and big ways, and part of that is consciousness, obviously, which you've expressed in many ways. I want to ask you about decisions, because now you have to make decisions. So I'll start with Courtney this time. Courtney, tell me some of the decisions that you have made. Like, we are always going to do this, we're always going to do that, I'm never going to yell, I'm always only going to use the wooden spoon on her, whatever.
Oh, I
you
got
know,
the wooden
she's,
spoon.
she's,
My dad used to call it an aspirin. Courtney, do you want an aspirin?
yeah, but
Oh.
you've made decisions, and I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. I'm going to ask you about the decisions you've made as women with your partners about, no, we're going to go camping every year. I see it on your blackboard. I see you have a whole bunch of decisions that you're either in the process of, whether it's just, I forgot lettuce at the store, or how do we save for the puppy, or make sure we go visit grandma. Like, I went to see Tynan and his kids last night when I was walking, and I realized, it's 9 o'clock. And every night at 9 o'clock, Tynan goes to visit his parents.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Yeah.
that's a decision that he's made as a son. So as a mother, just talking about the girls, can you tell me, I'll start with Courtney, can you make like some things that are non-negotiable, maybe they're big decisions?
Like for that, like routine.
As a mother.
As a
Or as routine, like we're always going to brush our teeth in the morning, or I will never say a crossword to my husband in front of my daughter. Or she will never have a motorcycle. Or, as long as she's in my house.
Yeah.
Like I've made decision, I will never do any drugs.
Yeah.
That's just a decision for me.
One decision for me that I made right from when she was an infant, I don't know if it was from day one or not, is every night I go into her bedroom and right. I connect with her, like spiritually, like I to maintain that.
And I'm going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
so
but
every night
I'm going to
I go
ask you
into
about
her
it
bedroom.
specifically and there's something specific I want to ask Jody later too.
Yeah. The only time I don't is if I feel like if Brayden wants to have that intimacy.
Right.
Like he connects with her in other ways. But there are some times where it's like it's his turn to have that moment of silence, and then I won't.
So can I ask you, did your mother do that with you?
I don't know.
See, but she's going to remember it.
Yeah.
Because it's like learning a language. How old are you, Tegan? I am 3. Yeah. And then you ask her the next day, how old are you, Tegan? I am 3. And after the 9th time, she remembers it. Yeah. But when there's that decision that's been made, like you're going to go running every single day of your life, or you're going to always brush your teeth or whatever. So she's 3 now. Yeah. She will remember it. It's been ingrained in her. Yeah. So there's a decision that you've made, and now that action, because I wrote how. Yeah. How do you go about doing it? Like, so
my mom and my grandma, we had a bedtime routine, and it was, we said, I don't know why it's escaping me right now, but there was like a prayer kind of thing that we said every night, and then we would say at the end of the prayer who we're thankful for. I'm thankful for so and so and so and so and so and so, and that was kind of like my putting me to bed. So there was that type of thing. It's a little bit different with Michaela, but just to kind of.
So let me just quickly flip it. Did your mom ever do that with you?
Like a bedtime routine?
Every night she was with you talking to you. Well, my mother did every night.
We had bedtime routine. What I remember most though is my dad, because my dad would come in and he would mummyize us. So he would take the blankets and he would shove them underneath you, so you were like in a caterpillar.
And you loved it,
right? And I loved it.
Yeah.
My mom, I can't honestly, I don't have an image or a sound in my head, but I know she took us to bed all the time. But I remember the mummyizing.
See, I think the reason that it hooks into me is that my mother did it. Well, I mean, she'd be working on the table, typing and doing new lessons for the next day, typing away and smoking, like I'd hear that big typewriter, and it put me to sleep. But my mother would, every night she would sit and touch me, in a nice way, my feet or my back, and she would talk to me she would talk to me about self-realization. And I'm like, huh? And she talked to me about, when I saw you with your brother today, when you get married, make sure you touch your wife, She has a different kind of skin. She has a different kind of body. Be aware of that, and I remember it. At the time, it was like, I want to kill somebody, like, let me go to sleep. Can I just get a new truck or something, But you know what? Little by little, I saw, and later, maybe when I'm 25 or I'm 30, I start thinking about self-realization and how I can grow. Yeah. And my mother, oh yeah, my mom used to talk to me about that. So, anyway, can I ask you the same question I asked Courtney? What are some, just as a mom with the girls, what are some non-negotiable sort of decisions that you've consciously made?
Well, I want to say, like, as a mom and father, as a partner, like those.
I'm going to ask you that next.
Made those.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you that next.
There's all the things in my head that are coming up are decisions that we made together.
Then do that.
Okay.
I'll flip the next question. I'll change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we chose to live in a small house. For the reason that we wanted everyone to be forced to be close together. So that we're not.
Wow, I never heard of that. That's
so
really
we actually
cool.
built a decently sized house in Hillcrest. We actually built a really beautiful house, and then chose to sell that house after about 4 years. And Ella was 4 years old. She had been in that house for her first 4 years. And we intentionally bought this house because it was small. Everything's on one small floor, because then we have to always be in each other's space, which I think is just, I really appreciated that growing up. We lived always in a small house.
Yes, me too.
And we were,
yeah.
3 kids and my parents, and we were just always in each other's space, which did not make for necessarily a quiet house, but that's what we wanted to create. Yeah. We didn't want everyone to be able to hide from the family. So that's one very intentional decision that we made. Decision about cell phones and technology and TV time. That was very intentional. Our kids just play, like they have imaginations that are incredible. I
see the puzzles.
It's crazy. And we just very intentionally really limited those things. We don't have an iPad in the house, and they don't have games on the cell phones, and we don't have video games and those kinds of things. We are so far behind in the TV technology world. Like, I don't even know what the newest kind of TV thing is.
Oh, anybody watching this you're not behind, because anybody who knows me in Chicago will go, no, you are Star Trek brainiac compared to Kirk, because I'm worse. Like, there'll only be books, there'll only be outside, there'll only be conversation. There will never be. I'm never on my phone. Courtney can't even text me. I won't even. But that's the kind of thing. Like, you see, one mother has made. This is something that every day. This is another mother with her husband who said every day. So now I have a different question. I'll start with Courtney again for a second. Courtney, tell me, if it's not too personal, some decisions you've made. Separate yourself out as a mother, okay? You're not a mom for the second. Some decisions you've made in those 3 or 4 roles that you have as teacher, wife, and all that stuff, daughter. What are some decisions you've made that are non-negotiable for you as a woman?
As a woman?
I know some of them.
About myself?
Yeah, because I know that you've made decisions when you give me all your pizzas and food in your basement because you're not going to eat meat. That's a decision. I don't know if you still are that way. Or I know that you exercise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm answering your question. But
that's good. Thank you.
No, but it could be a spiritual thing. It could be something with your husband that you always have date night every 27 Thursdays. Or something, because you have a little kid, anything like that. Like, no, this is how we're going to live. You and Braid.
There's a couple specific instances in the past. So, like, when Braid and I got married, I had already said yes to his proposal, but then I think it was a couple days later, I followed it up with like a sub-note of here's the thing, is that...
Oh, God, he's such a nice guy, too.
I'll say yes, But 2 days later,
See,
I
she
revisited.
See, she talked about her head. See, and about Little Red. Little Red's going to be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want the motorcycle, and you have to give me a foot rub
And
every
if you
night.
could just sign at the bottom
Yeah.
here.
Anyway, go ahead.
So I said that I wanted to. It was very, very important to me to be able to travel and to like do some like living of my life kind of thing, and specifically to live abroad. I had already lived abroad one time, and it was very important to me to do it again, and I was happy to do it like as a couple, but it was very important to me to do it again. Because of how much it caused me to grow the first time and how exciting and fun it was. Like I just wasn't finished with it, and I said that the reality is that probably if that's not interesting to you, this won't work. And he said, okay, yeah.
But he could have said, no, I'm really looking forward to, working in the pass for the mine in BC and doing the traveling. I love it there.
Yeah.
And I just want to stay in Michelle and the Crow's Nest Pass. And I'm really attached to my family and my brothers. And I really don't like French or Korean people or, you know, where you guys lived, you know, things like that. Yeah, very interesting. So is there any other decision that you can share with us that as a woman, that might not be something that's important to Jody, traveling to Korea and teaching school, or Ryan,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Anything else?
Something else that pops out is kind of tied into that. So during my 20s, like when I was 20 years old, I had a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
I had a quarter life crisis. Let's call it a fifth life crisis. See that math?
Yes, I know. It's like she's gonna live to 100 people.
Girl. But I made a decision when I was 20 years old. It was probably on my birthday, really, that my 20s were gonna be the best 10 years of my life. Because when I was 20, I couldn't really see beyond 30. But and they were it was like I made that decision and then kind of forgot about it, but it was always in the back that and it was this decision of live it up, go get 'em, girl. And that's what caused me to travel so much and to go all the places and do all the kind of wild stuff. And then when it came time when my 20s closed off and I was entering into my 30s, I had this realization of oh wow, that actually worked. So then when I was 30, I said a very intentional thing where I sat down and kind of thought, what do I want this decade to be about in my life?
See, it's very conscious.
Yeah.
And it's a decision, and it has intent, and it has consequence. It has realization.
And it pushes me a lot because it's
Uh-huh.
a big thing by the time I'm 40, and whether it pans out to be that or not, it's always there causing me to kind of be does this align with that? Is that okay?
Because it's a road. You're headed on the Titanic to New York, right? And it's almost, in a way, what Jody first said, what she wants her daughters to say. Go ahead, feel free, don't wait.
Yeah.
So for me, when I'm in my 20s, all I'm thinking about is, did you do your 8 hours of practicing today? Because that was every day except Sunday. Did you get A's in all your classes? Because you need the scholarship money, blah, 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 blah. That was it. Me going off to Paris or then to Korea or something like that, or having fun. I had lots of fun. Of course, I was looking all over the world. But, it's a very different, I am going to do this. And I will practice 8 hours every day. Nothing can sway me from this. Hard work ends up in good stuff. I've seen this my whole life. So... So, Jody, let me ask you the same question, please. Can you share with us some decisions as a woman and as a partner with your husband that you have made more just for yourself or for your marriage or those kinds of things?
Yeah, what came to mind was the idea of wanting my daughters to see me still pursuing things I'm passionate about, not setting things aside or not giving things up. And we had this conversation, Ryan and I, about our running, because our running was taking up a lot of our time. We did a lot of running and a lot of training, and we had the conversation of, okay, are we doing too much of this?
Are you being selfish?
Are we being selfish? And it was, and it was also that conversation got stirred up because my dad would be like, well, you wouldn't be so stressed out if you just ran less. Like, just don't run so much. And so we had that conversation. It was like, no, like we want our daughters to know that you don't have to give those things up when you have a family.
Because you're showing them by example.
Yeah, I want them to see that I can be a very, very present mother.
Right.
And also have a job.
Right.
And also run.
Right.
And I can weave those things together in a balanced way.
Can I ask you, did your mother ever go running regularly?
No, my mom started running when I started running.
That's what I mean. Or did your dad like have a routine where he was going to do?
But my mom did all the like aerobics shows, right? Like with the chair and whatever. We would do it with her. My dad plays slow pitch. We went and watched his games all the time and the tournaments, and he played hockey.
Yeah, but the concept of being in a marathon or going running with spandex on, and that's like, and we're going to do this from 4 o'clock or from 2:30 till 4:30 when we pick the kids up from dance. No, it's a. But it's a decision. Ryan decided you were going to run or be fit or train or something. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us some other decisions that you made for you, just like that, and for you and Ryan, that were sort of, these are things we're going to do, for sure, and I'm just going to make them happen.
Something that we kind of intentionally do, which is really funny, is that like we don't always have a clean house. Like our house is not always clean. I intentionally choose to take my kids on an adventure instead of clean the house.
Uh-huh.
I will, just that idea of connection with nature is really, really, really important to us. Yeah. So the camping, the mountain biking, the climbing, we've summited tons of mountains with the girls already. Right. Even things like we took the girls up Turtle Mountain. Tegan was, I think, 5 the first time that we went up, maybe even 4. And we would just go as far as we could.
No, she was 2. You told me that. Because when we
was
climbed, we got to that certain spot.
She was like, 3. Ryan, our executive producer, is in the background going like this. Yeah. She was 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
But see, I grew up here my whole life. I never climbed one mountain.
Right.
Your grandpa did for sure. Yeah. But, did your dad go climbing mountains with the children in the backpack? Not
until, not when we were really little. We canoed. Yeah, we did a lot of canoeing and camping. Right.
But see, there's a decision. You guys are going to go camping. The house is going to be a little messy. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some dust and a couple books on the floor. But we're going to go do this. And what are we doing next weekend? And, are we going to buy a camper?
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I guess 2 years ago when Ella was 8, Ryan and I had this like epiphany. We were like, holy shit, we've got 5 years and then she's a teenager. Like,
and that's it.
What are we doing with our time? Like, we only have this much time. And then who knows? Hopefully we're creating a scenario where we have teenagers who still want to do those things with us, but maybe not. They might have jobs and do their own thing. And so we did. We bought a better truck, because the truck that we had at the time was really a truck that you only took within a certain radius. Like, you didn't want to get too far away from home with it. So we purchased a newer truck. And then we planned a 40, and then we planned for the next summer a 40-day camping trip. And we just took off and spent 40 days, just the 4 of us, living out of the trailer. And we spent the majority of it on Vancouver Island. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, how many adventures can we give in the next 5 years before Ella's 13? Just to really instill that love of adventure and that love of being outside and that love of discovering new things and doing it within our, like, we talked lots about staying within Canada and doing it within our own country, and like not necessarily wanting to go other places until we've shown them where they live.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
And that was a very intentional decision. That was probably not one at the time that we necessarily could afford, but we just did it.
But that's another decision. You're going to go into debt, or you're not going to be able to buy the new stove, or you can't replace the couch, or
that's right.
We're going to go to Vancouver Island. Yeah. For me, I'm thinking, if I put myself in Tegan's place, she's 8, or Ella, she's 10. I got to go to Pincher Creek when we had to go to the dentist. Yeah. That's it. You know, I didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw Calgary the first time, I didn't know what it was. I don't know. I was like, what is that? I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't even imagine it, you know, and plus we didn't have a library here. Well, we had a library about the size of our front room here.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I have two more questions for you because I remember that we said we wanted to keep it kind of shortish, or instead of longish. So in the language that you use, I'll start with Jody.
Yeah.
With the language that you use every day with your children, do you have specific things that you do on purpose? In the way that you communicate with them? Because I've watched both of you, and I've watched the way, for instance, when I was here last, I watched the way they spoke to you when I was at the table. So it rang a bell in my head. No, it was all good. It was very nice, actually.
I try really hard to help them navigate their emotions. That's a really, really important thing for us, is that they have what we like to call emotional intelligence. So speaking to them about how they're feeling and whether their feelings are dictating how they're behaving and how they're treating somebody else. If they're giving over control, for example, I'll tell a story about last night. So we were at my parents' and visiting my aunt and uncle, and Tegan had asked for a snack, and so my mom had said, well, there's some peas, from like garden peas that have been shelled in the fridge, right? Tegan's favorite thing. So she goes and gets them, and she's sitting with me eating them, and Ella came by and asked to, like, could you share those with me? Tegan said no, right? Like, not choosing kindness first, right? But this is something that we've noticed.
And did she say it like that? Like, Ella was polite. Yes,
well,
I got
no,
it.
she didn't say it like that, but she was very
Decent.
clear, like she didn't want to share that these were her peas, and Ella could find something else to eat. And so then Ella got upset and went to the garden to pick her own peas. So Tegan and I had a conversation about, you know, instead of pushing your sister away because you feel like there's only so many peas and I don't want, there's just this many, right, from a place of like scarcity, right, and wanting to preserve them for herself, which is something we've recognized in Tegan since she was very young. She's acted that way. And so we had this conversation of, instead, you could have like welcomed your sister to enjoy the peas with you, and then the two of you could have gone together to pick more peas, and you could have created this moment of like sharing with your, right, instead of the feeling of like, these are mine. So then Tegan went to offer that to Ella. And then Ella, because she let her anger and frustration dictate how she responded, was just mad at her sister and said no. So she was just going to pick her peas. So then Ella and I then had the conversation about, you know, your anger and frustration was dictating that choice. And if you could separate the feeling from the choice and be like, okay, I have an opportunity to create a moment. It's all about like creating. Oh,
opportunity. Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like them understanding, I guess, how we intentionally create things for them, right? That they can intentionally create moments for themselves. But that requires a lot of emotional awareness. And so I guess that's when I talk to them, and when Ryan is fabulous at all of these conversations. He is probably the one that is stronger at it than me, for sure. It's helping them, guiding them through their emotions so that they can have that emotional awareness, so that they can then create those moments and always be in control of that.
Makes sense.
Makes
it's
sense.
Sort of in my head, that thing that my mother taught me, discretion is the better part of valor. And what she really means is stop for a minute and don't be offended and don't say what's on your mind and think. And also think of a way you can actually get what you want without making this person angry at you. Or not saying something that later somebody's gonna say, you said this, and I'm gonna go, yeah, I did. But is there a way? And of course, they're just, she's just 8 or they're 10 years old. So, but it almost goes, I heard a really interesting woman on CBC the other day, and she was saying that she tries to start every single thing in her day with the word love.
Mm.
And I got goosebumps just now. Look, see?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it down. And I thought, wow, could I do that? And I have a little sign, which you can't see if you come to my house. It's hidden, but it's by my shoes. And it says love. It's one of these.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, I'm going to try that. Everywhere, even if the dog's barking at me next door, because he barks every time I go outside, I'm going to say, hey, how you doing, dude? You know? Instead of like, are you nuts? You know? Like, I'm here every day. You know? Like, I'm not a grizzly bear. You know, sometimes, or I just see somebody on the street. Can I just smile at them when I'm walking?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't think I'm going to, like, shoot them or something, And I just thought, wow, could I do that? If I go to the store and, can I start that with love? And it's almost like that if you think, oh, one daughter has a question coming to her. And if her brain already thinks kind, love. Yeah. So I want some of your piece. Kind, love. Then some other synapse will take over. Now, it's impossible. We're human. We're very frail. But if I'm going to try and do it, I'm going to try, because I'm a brain person too, like you, and I'm like, no, you're so stupid. Why, and why can't you do this? And this is crazy. And why are you going 140 miles an hour? And why don't you stop at this stop sign or whatever it is? And if I just think, I wonder if that lady's racing to work in her car at 140 miles an hour because she's a nurse and they need her because of the fire downtown. Mm-hmm. Or that guy who's walking across the street is disabled and he doesn't think about the stop sign. Can I empathize with him more? Empathize or not judge or something. And it comes back to that kind. And I thought that woman's comment, I thought, wow, that gets to me. Just stop and think about the other person. Just take, that thing about take a deep breath or count to 10 and then kill your sister. Like, get away from my peas,
Well, and it's been something that's been really important for us since the girls were young, and we've very intentionally and through their guidance, really, to what they were open to, have tried to show them lots of different ways to connect to what they're feeling and what they're thinking and what's going on in their head. So when they were young, Ella would talk about it as like she worries lots. So she would have these packages in her head. That's how she described it. I have all these packages. And when we would go to bed, I would say, how many packages do you have today? And she would say, I have 7 packages.
Oh my God.
And we would unpack.
And you're a math teacher.
The 7 packages, right?
Yeah, or
and she would talk
dispense
about
with them or
yeah,
water
we
on
would,
them.
Cool.
We would talk about them, and she would go through the packages, however many there were in her head, because she had a lot of anxiety. And then we started journaling. And at first, the girls, they didn't know how to write words, and they didn't know how to spell words. So we had etch-a-sketches, and they would tell us what they wanted to write down. And we would, Ryan and I, each with one girl doing bedtime, we would write out the words on the etch-a-sketch for them, and then they would copy it down into their journal. And so now I see, like, Ella leans on that lots. Ella is constantly journaling. She's constantly drawing. She does a lot of drawing for whatever she's thinking about. So there's been lots of, like, meditation moments. I remember one time we were sitting at the dinner table over there, and Tegan just, like, had a total meltdown, like, out of the blue, totally unexpected, like, freaking right out. And we were just kind of like, whoa. And Ryan put on some, like, meditation kind of sounding music. And we sat on the floor right over there, the 4 of us. Ella got down on the floor with us, and Tegan, I just grabbed her. She was just, like, flailing all over the place. I grabbed her and just put her in my lap, sitting cross-legged. And the 4 of us sat in this little circle, and we just held on to Tegan, and we just waited. And I don't know, Ryan might have been talking, he might have been saying some kind of, like,
mantra,
like, mindset kind of guided things. I can't really remember. All I remember is Tegan all of a sudden going, oh.
Wow.
And it's because they when they feel things that are too big for them, and we talk about this all the time, they don't know how to process it, they don't know how to handle it, they feel stretched. And so I try to talk to them about that lots when they're dealing with each other, in that your sister's very stretched right now. She's feeling things she can't quite, handle in a calm way. So we just need to give her space, or we need to give her a hug, or things like that. But that moment sticks in my head so loudly, in that it's not, they don't need to be reprimanded because they're making noise and they're being loud and they're upset about something. She's just feeling something that's like totally out of control and just needed help, like physically letting it go, and then we could have a conversation and talk about it.
One time we had a similar situation, only Michaela and I were both highly escalated.
Escalated? Escalated, nice verb.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brayden, we were also at the table. Brayden got up and he grabbed my hand, telling me in that gesture enough, but also grabbed Michaela, and he walked us over to the couch, and he didn't say a single word. He just held us in like a full-on embrace. Like, I was in this side, Michaela was over here, and he just like held us there until Michaela and I both went, and then we moved on.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, I'll never forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I asked you the question was I watched the other day, not on purpose, I wasn't, I just sort of listening, and I heard the way that you spoke to your daughters. I also noticed they came into the room a few times and they were asking for things, but the tone of voice that they used and how they asked. And they weren't demanding, and they were polite, and they were sort of thoughtful, like, hey, mommy, da-da-da, or can we, or blah. And it was very, there's communication going on. And it's not so much statements as questions. And then I watched the way that you diffused. You didn't have a moment, and you said, could we please, blah, blah, blah. And you weren't annoyed, but you needed a couple more minutes and things like that. So let me ask Courtney the same question. In your everyday interactions with Little Red, with Michaela, are you conscious of the language that you use with her? And can you give us some examples of that?
You're like the language queen.
A couple things. So, my language to her, I always try to picture her as an adult.
Yeah.
In little child form. So when I communicate with her, I want her to feel respected as a person, not spoken down to as a child. And so in the body language, I'll often try to get down to her level, which I was taught in the teaching world.
Wow.
So that we can be eye to eye. But in my language, I'm always just trying to be conscious of what I expect of her is for her to be respectful to me and respectful to others. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody, but there has to be respect. You have to treat a person with kindness, and I think that kindness, a way of showing kindness, a big way of showing kindness is respect. So I will very consciously try to use my words by showing her that I'm not trying to speak down to her. I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with her.
Teaching by example, which you've said, both of you, in several ways today.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Modeling a lot. I'm finding right now one of the ways that works for us is, so for example, it's just giving her the words a lot. So she might come up to me and say, Mommy, I want a glass of water. And I'll say, Mommy, can I please have a glass of water? And then she'll say, Mommy, can I please have a glass of water? And I'll say, of course, Dad.
Training the language over and over. Just like, I'm 3.
Yeah.
I'm 3. And then 5th time, I'm 3.
Well, and it's really neat, too, because...
Yeah. You're instilling that language in her brain.
Yeah, and then when she's able to produce it on her own, you can see, like... She'll even give that look of, like,
Did you see?
Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
I did that on
Uh-huh.
my own.
I got it, Mom.
Yeah, I did that. And yeah, and then I learned something every single time I come over from Jody. I learned something in this conversation already.
Not from Ryan, our executive producer.
I learned a lot from Ryan too. I just spend more time with Jody. Yeah, so one of the things that I learned from Jody is giving Michaela the space to feel through her emotion instead of just identifying the emotion or the feeling or the experience, what's happening, is to actually take the whole process through it, not around it, but through the feeling and journeying to the other side. And then once we're at the other side, sometimes then we'll look backwards and say, what just happened? And we'll like retell the whole story. That was something I learned on a podcast. It was just something that resonated with me and started implementing that. But what I learned was that it helps to put a place, like a marker in their brain, so that it's like a little pin, and then they can move on from it. Instead of it being just a whole bunch of pieces floating around.
Yeah, the 7 packages.
Yeah.
That are unresolved, or there's no lesson learned, or there's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my goodness, it's not perfect, but the intention is there for
Intent.
that.
That's the first word I had written this morning.
Yeah.
If you see right here, I wrote intent. Yeah. What is your intent? And then how do you go about accomplishing those things or those dreams, even if you're, of course, not always successful.
And they evolve, right? Like the girls and I now, and now they have with Ryan too, like a mommy and me journal and a daddy and me journal, where it's like some of it's guided questions and some of it's just blank pages, and there's one color of page is for me to write on, and the other color of page is for them to write on, and it's a journal that is just for the two of us to see and nobody else sees it. So if they don't feel like they can talk to me about something, they could write it in there and put it on my pillow in my bed, and then I could read it, and then I could write back and respond to them.
So is there just a journal for you, and is there just a journal for Ryan?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, good. So when they're 14
yeah.
and they're having some problem that they only feel, I don't know, I'm a guy, because guys talk about stuff, believe me, that we never want to talk about with you, you know, and mostly stupid stuff, okay? But, I mean, I would feel comfortable talking to Ryan about blah, but I'm never going to talk about with you. And there's even words I'd probably say around Ryan.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm mad or I hit my toe or something like that. But if you were in the room, I would stop it, you know, and not let you know that I would, you know. So, you know, maybe Ella can write to you when she's 14 about blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Or if there's some cool thing she wants. Oh, that's really interesting.
Well, and I envision it growing to a place where when they're having issues with me, right? Mom and daughter are, you know, having their moments in those teenage years, that we would have built up this other mode of communication between them and their dad, so that they can. I just remember there being so many things as a teenager that you feel like you want to talk about, but you actually just can't sit in front of somebody and say it out loud.
Oh, absolutely.
That writing it is so much easier. Yeah. So, and it was, I don't even know where I heard the idea, but maybe it was a podcast, maybe it was a mom and daughter talking, but they just had a scribbler. It was just like a coiled scribbler that they started using, writing back and forth. And then I believe they then developed and created this journal later. And I just thought that's so brilliant. Like,
no, that's a great idea. Well, that's
and
really cool.
And it's all about, like, you hit it right on the nose. It's all about communication. It's like giving them all these tools so that they can communicate with the right language and the different ways of communicating.
Yeah, I mean,
so
even
important.
given the P experience, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, say one of them wanted to apologize, and they just wrote, "I'm sorry, Mommy," but they can't come and do it. You know, they're just too shy or too embarrassed or upsets them too much
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So my last question.
Can I add one more thing in there?
Yeah,
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
I
yeah,
kinda
sure,
cut you off.
podcast.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. I didn't feel cut off at all. Actually, I was the idea came from what you were saying was one thing in terms of communication that I found really amazing, even when speaking with a girl who's 3 years old. One of those moments where I'm like, oh, this is working, is when I make a mistake or I blow up or lose my temper or do something that is not showing kindness or respect, those things that I'm always talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'll like sometimes I need to be apart. I will tell Michaela, like, stay away from me. I need to be alone, and I will lock myself in my bedroom so that I can kind of decompress. But then when I come back out, which I is a modeling thing too. I want her to be able to realize that she can be angry. Like, it's okay to be mad and like go through the emotion, right? So I will like throw my pillow against the wall, and like that helps me actually to get it out quick. And then but come back and have a calm conversation and I'll apologize to her. And I'll tell her that, like I might say I'm sorry for being mean to you or something. And then, there was a moment, not too long ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and Michaela had a freak out, and I kind of Jody came into my mind, and I just kind of gave her this space. And I thought that she had just totally moved on, like, because she was playing again, and I'm like, okay, cool, like, her emotion has shifted, everything like that. And she was playing again, and then she said, "Mommy," she's in the living room. I was in the kitchen washing dishes. She said, "Mommy," and I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm sorry for being mean to you."
Aha.
And I was like,
The light bulb.
yeah.
It's
And
sitting while she's playing
Mhm.
many minutes later, but she's carrying it with her.
Yeah.
And she wants to
really-
resolve it. And she feels she wants to be a goodness to you too.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a huge priority in our house too, is doing exactly what you said, right? When we have our moments, because we do, and I think it's important for our kids to see us have those moments so they don't have us on a pedestal of like perfection, right? That
Or feel like
we
they
then,
have to.
exactly, that we then go and sit down with them in a calm way and apologize. And I often find myself explaining to them, like, Mommy was feeling very stretched because of XYZ. I'm really tired. I didn't get a good sleep last night. I'm thinking lots about school. I'm thinking work is stressful right now. But giving them like the backstory as to what created that to come out of me, so that they know it wasn't them. It was some external factor that was impacting how I was communicating with them. So important. Yeah.
So I have one more question for each of you. And it's an easy question actually. So it's a very specific for each one of you. So Courtney, could you share with us your words, the night words that you do every single night almost
This is my
with
favorite
Michaela?
thing.
And also, would you tell a little as a side the one about she asked you to sing the words one night, just out of the blue? You told me that a month or two ago. Like, Mommy, can you sing me the words?
Yeah.
And she calls them the words.
Yeah.
Right. So can you share that with us? Because not every mother or father or son does that. Not everybody has a journal. Not everybody has a place where you throw pillows. So not everybody, you know. So would you mind sharing that specific thing that you do with Little Red?
Yeah. So every night when I tuck her into bed, I say, this changes, like, it's a little fluid in the beginning, but Michaela, you are kind and you are smart. I might say you're beautiful, whatever. You're special. And I give her affirmations just so she can hear it. And then I say, and you're going to have a wonderful sleep. And sometimes I'll say while you're dreaming, and sometimes I'll say in your life. I say you get to go wherever you want to go, and you can be whoever you want to be, and you can see anyone who's important to you, and you'll always have your angels flying right there beside with you. And when you wake up in the morning, you're going to feel happy and rested and ready for a brand new day. And tomorrow's going to be a great day.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll say, and tomorrow we get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just say, dream big dreams.
Do you ever do any specific things with her? Like you notice that now she's X, Y, or Z, and you want to sort of focus on that color in her or that specific thing, or you want to enforce. Like, let's say she's brushing her teeth by herself for the first time, and you just want to like praise her, or if she were not potty trained or something. I mean, or something like, oh, you've been such a. Do you ever like inculcate her with like specific tangible things when you're talking? No, just general quiet.
Not
Yeah.
really. Like it's essentially, to be perfectly honest, where that comes from is that if I was ever not here, I would want her to know that she is kind and that she is smart and that she can be whoever she wants to be. And I would want her, when she's in those moments of question or doubt, whether I'm here or not, or whether I'm just like, she's in university and I'm not there with her, because I'm here and she's gone to university or maybe whatever, but that she would hear those words enough, because it takes a minute, not even, to say those things.
Yeah.
But when you do it every single day,
over and over, yeah.
That's the thing that she hears. So my hope is that that's what will, in those moments where it's like, you said it earlier, where you're just like building a little pathway in the brain.
Yeah, it's a
where
little
it
trench,
might be the foundation of something, the foundation which upon like she builds herself and her identity and who she knows herself to be and who she wants to become, but like to build that foundation by hearing it just over and over and over, that I can do whatever I want, I can be whoever I want to be, and then all of the conversations about specifics, that typically comes in the moment throughout the day.
Yeah, the day. Yeah, I just didn't know. Yeah.
And then the song, when I was pregnant with her, I used to walk with the dog every single day, and we walk up, we did this little loop in the forest, and I really, I don't know, I just had this desire to be singing to her, but I would get bored of singing other songs, so I was like, I'm gonna make up my own song. And so I just kind of, there's just a little lullaby sort of type song that I would sing to her. And when she was really small, I would sing that to her every night, and that sort of evolved into something that was like what we say now, and every so often I'll sing that song to her too.
Yeah. That
specific night though, she loves the lullaby that the mom sings at the beginning of Frozen 2. And she says to her girls, she does this with her stuffies. She'll grab her stuffies and she'll say, scooch in, scooch in, and she'll put all her stuffies in and she'll scooch in, scooch in, and she'll get them all ready, like how a cat will spin around 15 times before they lay down, right? She's telling her stuffies, scooch in, and then so that's what she wanted me to do, and she wanted me to go with the north wind. She wanted me to be the mom to her and get her all snuggled and scooched in and sing to her. Yeah.
I'm curious about it because of the worm story and I'll just quickly remind us that I'm in your mom's house. I'm using the computer upstairs, and I hear little red bonk, 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 bonk coming up the steps, and then I hear her in a room behind me singing. And I say, oh, that's a really nice song. And I thought she's going to bed. She's singing because Grandma's going to have her take a nap or something. And I say, oh, what are you singing? Are you going to go have a nap? And she goes, no, I'm singing a lullaby to the worm. Oh my goodness. So she brings this worm in her hand. And she goes, the worm's upset because it's out of the garden and I have to calm down. I'm singing. And right away in my head I go, that's Courtney. That's Courtney. Courtney has taught her something about singing and lullaby and calming down or quiet. Now, I probably was wrong, but my brain went immediately like, this little girl has in her mind that when she needs to help something or calm a little something, she sings to them. And I think, where did she get that? And then it went bang, Courtney's taught her this somehow. Maybe you just said it once. she saw it in a video, whatever. But you see a very conscious thing of a little girl going, "You're upset, Worm." I mean, I don't know how she knows that, but I'm just going to sing to you, and then I'm going to take you down. And then, of course, I told her, I said, yeah, well, when the worm goes home, the family's going to be so happy. They're going to have a party and, they're going to like, have cake and everything. And so then she brought the whole family up from the garden. Like, I found the whole family. They're all happy now, and you see this beautiful imagination and sweetness, very kind. So anyway, now Jody, here's my specific question for you. Would you and Courtney and our executive producer Ryan, Sir Ryan of
Peebles,
right, mind if we went into the kitchen and we took a picture of your blackboard? Because I think that just about tells you everything that we've all been talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it. Now,
okay.
If you don't want to say go get carrots or something, we'll edit.
No, that's
edit
okay.
that out later. Yeah, but
that's okay.
We'll turn the lights on or something, because I think just watching your consciousness and Ryan's consciousness of how to plan, how to dream, how to accomplish all those things. Am I messing you up?
Thank you. No,
No.
we just gotta bring the audio with us.
Okay.
I think it's hooked. We gotta slide it underneath this.
Here, do I need to
Pull
leave?
that white thing off.
Okay.
Got it. Perfect. Awesome. Okay.
Okay,
We've
we're
got the
going with Sir
audio.
Ryan.
We'll take this one.
This is our very high-tech situation.
You have enough light in here? Do you want me to hit the lights? See if this looks better to Ryan. Or that's where I just screwed up. So, what can I do today to be closer to a big dream? So the girls see that, right?
Yes.
Look at what they see. What are we going to do? We're going to buy a horse. Not well spelled at first, but yeah. You do this, to go up on these mountains. You can help with these things. If they want to make money, they could do something. They could do some weeding. What kind of toys do they want? Have they saved some money? What are we going to do? And all this stuff. And then look, love and laugh. And I thought there was something about kindness up here. Or good morning. What's mom? No, I thought there was something. Oh, here's Kirk's birthday present. They already have this up here. I can't believe it. But like family trip to like Peebles goals. So there's goals that you have together. And sure, it says, go get ketchup. Okay, so that it needs to be done. But I think it's wonderful, like that you've just decided, like here are some things we're thinking about together, and the girls see this every day. It's right in their face every time they wake up and every time they're having breakfast.
I've even given up a little bit of control and Ella wrote this on my chalkboard. It's not my chalkboard anymore, it's our chalkboard.
Okay, but she's talking about how she's going to accomplish getting the puppy.
Yeah.
And also, well, you do need shampoo. Like, I never would think of that as a kid. Or a puppy collar and treats. Oh, you need a puppy gate. See? So she's, I think it's lovely. Because you're doing it together as 4 people.
Well, I think it's subtly too kind of teaches them to write down the things that they want to achieve or the things they because if you write things down, you're more likely to actually accomplish them. My favorite one is the choose your hard. That's like my mantra.
Aha!
It's like,
see, I knew there was something up here that I missed.
You always come to a fork in the road when you have to make a choice, and sometimes the hardest, like both choices have a level of hard to them, whether it's not like there's an ugly hard and a good hard. I find to every choice, right? There's the hard that's maybe harder, but it creates a better life. It creates a more fulfilled situation, but it's hard. And then there's the not choosing to do that thing and then living with that is also hard.
Yeah,
right?
you should come, someday you guys come to I have a little sign in my fridge. It says no. It's one of those cards. Because if I go in the fridge and I say I decide I would ever want French fries, or no, I want a cheeseburger. Yes, I do. Like, or Tynan invited me on Friday to have pizza at his house, and I say, can I come another night? I can't have pizza. No. Do I love pizza? Yes. This morning before I came here, I thought exactly the same stupid thing. I brushed my teeth and then I flossed my teeth, and I thought, you know what? I hate flossing my teeth. I really don't. It's not something I really enjoy. It's not like dancing with a girl or something, And I thought, you know what? You always feel better after you flossed your teeth. You did it.
Yeah.
You put your vitamins. You did this. You did. That's the little decisions. Or a couple nights ago, I did not want to go running. I did not want to go running, and my brain, the Courtney in your brain, and all of our said, you are going outside and you are going around the park 26 times. If it takes you 4 hours or 7 days, you are going to do it. And it's that, but it's also that hard decision of not to be angry, to not be judgmental. I think, like what we're talking about, but there, that hard decision. It's like that's all life is. I think life is all it is love and decisions. Every decision you make. Are you going to speed in the car? Are you going to do your homework? Are you going to practice the piano? Are you going to blow your cork at somebody? Are you going to be, like what you said about how are you going to speak to your daughters? How are you going to speak to your husband? How are you going to keep like I saw your picture of your hands this morning, where your hands are on top of each other, that's that day. So how many of those promises can you and executive producer Ryan keep? How many can Courtney and Braid keep for themselves? So that in the end, when you're 95 and you're writing your books, you go, oh no, we had a good journey. Or look at our girls, how great they are. And I was thinking of something you made me think of. I thought how lucky we are to live in Canada. Because your daughters could not have many of those dreams, no matter what you said to them at night, if they were living in communist China.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
they wouldn't have those dreams.
We even feel so grateful that we live in the Kersness Pass, because we can provide all these amazing opportunities for our girls, whether it be mountain biking, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, horseback riding, painting, acting, dancing. All these things are available in this small community with these fabulous, fabulous experts who are willing to lead them and coach them and guide them with compassion. And we wouldn't be able to afford that in the city. We wouldn't be able to afford to give them all those experiences if we lived in a larger center. So living here is such a blessing
and in
for
these
us.
beautiful mountains. Plus, I remember when I came over to drop something off a few weeks ago, I saw them on their bikes. And I said, did you know your daughters are on their bikes? And they were going over their grandparents.
Yeah.
But they could just get on their bikes and go somewhere. You can drive for 7 minutes and they can have a dance lesson.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, band was across the street. Orchestra was across the street. My piano teacher lived 2 blocks from me. The skating rink was 1 block away. The blah, blah, blah. The ski hill was 2 blocks away. So when you live in a rural place, or if you're sick one day, you can knock on that person's door and say, can you watch the children? I have to, I cut my foot. Can't do that downtown Chicago. Plus you have to drive everywhere and park for $50 and fight traffic and,
Yeah, and that's like another intentional decision, going back to intent, is living a simple life, like knowing that there are simple things that you can do to have a very fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And that is living here is one of those very intentional decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly you have access to other things in the city. And for some people, that's the right decision for them, is being there. So it's nothing like one's not right or wrong. Right. This is just right for us.
Yeah, it's your values.
Yeah.
Now, Courtney, as associate executive producer now and co-host, I'm going to say goodbye as the guest host, and I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, both of you, very much, and I'll leave it to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kirk. That was a really, really fun experience. I kind of like being, I have to say I prefer being in the other seat because I get so emotional when I'm answering questions, clearly. But yeah, thank you to whoever's watching this and for giving some of your time to this conversation. We just are very grateful that you did that.
Thanks to Ryan Peebles.
Yes.
As well.
Executive producer.
Sir Ryan of
Sir
Peebles.
Ryan of Peebles.
Executive producer.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you, Kirk. That was really interesting, and I loved your questions. So.
Thank you. I learned a lot too.
That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely.
Okay, have a great day.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
love and good decisions.
And intention.
Intention.
Tension.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Bye.
Okay, until next time.
See you.
Bon voyage.
Wow.
Thank you all.